Okay.
Are you joining the tour? So, good morning. I wanted you to meet Charlotte.
Hi, morning.
She's another guide and taking over when I can't walk anymore. And the kids for being good and getting up so early. You're going to get an Easter egg.
Oh, would you like an Easter egg?
A bit late.
What did you say? You just said
Don't
you
even
were
worry, I think
hungry.
peppermint inside. So, there's another one here. Charlotte, save one here. Okay, so while we're still talking about the trees, I want you to look at that big tree over there with the huge roots covered with creeper. This is quite a rare tree. It's called the K-pop tree. You know K-pop, hapok, that you put in the teddy bear and in pillows. And it has all displayed trunk. There's a couple at Fort Canning Park. It's becoming quite rare. And it has a seed about this big, which bursts open, and all the cotton comes out. And usually about twice a year, because we don't have seasons the same as in other countries. We usually get 2 seasons of durian and 2 seasons of, depends on the monsoon. And okay, so about the area here, this was part of a big plantation. I mean, way back it was jungle. There was an old Malay community that lived around here, because over on the other side of the lake was a very old Malay cemetery. And if you look at a road map, the names around here, one is called Kramat Lane. So Kramat is like a holy shrine. It's a tomb of somebody who died who was important, or a holy man or lady. And also Buyong Road, Buyong is there. So these were names that reflected the old Malay settlement that was here. And sadly, all the tombs got covered over. So they didn't actually, when I was a child, we used to come, and there wasn't all the fencing yet, so we can come and walk, and not so many rules. But about 10 years ago, I had to train the ADCs for the president, because whenever VIPs came and foreigners, they're always amazed at the beautiful trees and flowers. And they'd ask, they've got, I think, 2 sort of permanent ADCs, but the ADCOM, but they have about 100 volunteers that are called, they're working, but they get called on duty for this dinner or that lunch or whatever. And of course the visitors would always say, oh, what a wonderful tree, and what's the name of that? And they say, most Singaporeans really don't know too much. So they say, okay, so we wrote a book, which is out of print. I don't know what they're selling now. I'm supposed to have done a new book about the Istana, but there's a very big book, but just
there was one down there
that you can buy, but I don't know how much detail. But anyway, I had to go around with the chief gardener, who was a botanist, and an very old man. I think he'd retired from Botanic Garden. We didn't know what to do with him, so he came here. And of course he was spouting all the Latin names, and I said, well, nobody wants to know the Latin names. We use the Malay name, the traditional names, or Chinese name, or whatever, but the English names. And then what's interesting is all the uses and maybe it's medicine or other things. But anyway, there's lots of beautiful trees here. So after the tour finishes, after going into the Istana, you can spend your time and wander around and have a picnic. They have a kiosk up there, tables and chairs, you can have a drink. And if you stay on longer, maybe in the afternoon, there's a band playing. I don't know, did they put anything in the paper? But
primary school band.
Primary school
band.
And sometimes the president will wander around, so you can sort of pose and have a picture with the president. But in the afternoon, it's more likely to rain. That's sort of going to happen. So it's much cooler to do it now in the morning. Okay, so British time. This was one of 3 hills that were part of a big plantation. So this was Mount Caroline. Next door is Mount Sophia, where the cafe is. And the next hill is Mount Emily. You heard of Mount Emily? Now they've got posh apartments and things there. But they were old little black and white houses, government quarters, and Magazine Road over that side was all bus depot and other things. Rex, have you been around the Rex Cinema, that side? It's good curry puffs and local food off Seligi Road. But the plantation was owned by the Prinsep family. The Princeps were of Jewish origin, but they were the founders of one of the founders of the British East India Company way back in the 1700s or whatever. So every generation of Prinsep would go to India or Burma or wherever things were happening. And of course they moved down from Malacca and came to Singapore and we have a Prinsep Street that leads off near there. So that was probably the driveway that led up to a house. And there was a big plantation house on the hill. Are you joining the tour? It's $20 for charity if you like to join. Anyway, learn something. so yeah, they're running away. What do you call, the plantation house was sort of where the Istana is now, but it was owned by the Princeps, but they were too busy counting money and their stuff with the British East India Company, so they leased it to a German company called Ben Meyer. Do we have some Germans today here? It's supposed to have been a few, but Behn-Meyer. It's a big old trading company that's still in Singapore. And Ben Meyer, Mr. Ben's son, married Mr. Meyer's daughter. So her name happened to be Caroline, and they lived in the plantation house. So although it was called Mount Caroline, lots of people thought it was named after her, but it was actually named after the Prinsep family and the three sisters. They had three sisters, Emily and Sophia and Caroline. So again, lots of people say, oh, Sophia was Raffles' wife or Raffles' sister, or Sophia Cook was a lady who started a school at Mount Sophia, but it really came from, further back than that. So lots of history, lots of interest. Anyway, when Singapore became more prosperous and the British got concerned that we were ruled by the British East India Company in India, Calcutta, and so the governors used to come once a year and collect the taxes and check out stuff and have parties, but they realized with the Dutch snooping around and the French snooping around and the Spanish snooping around that we better have a governor and a show of force and army and military and so on here. So that's when they decided to appoint a governor in Singapore, and they bought over part of this, just this hill, from the Prinsep family. It's more than 100 hectares, and they built what is now the Istana building as the government house in 1867. And they spent about £18,000 on the furnishings at that time, which was a phenomenal amount. Everyone complained, all the taxes and so on, it was being used wrongly. And then we had 21 governors over the years before independence that came and went. Lots of alterations have been done to the original government house, but when we go in later, you'll see where they're displaying all the gifts and so on. The banquet hall was originally the kitchens and the workshops, so of course they had to just gut all that and make it bigger for bigger parties and receptions and air conditioning and that sort of thing. So it's had a few reincarnations over the years, but it was built by convict labor. There were about 300 Indian convicts that came from Bencoolen. Bencoolen was also a British colony in Indonesia, and that's where Raffles was before he came to Singapore. And they actually had a kiln on site, so the famous red earth of Singapore, what we call Tanah Merah. So they made the bricks on site. So that's what they did with St Andrew's Cathedral, a lot of the big thing where there was still plenty of land around and the right sort of clay soil, and so that's how it happened. Anyway, when we get up closer, you'll be able to see a bit different. I think we'll walk up, keep on walking, we'll go slowly and have some breathers on the way. Is this your